We've given names to our special angle pairs when two lines like A and B are crossed by a transversal T. I'm indicating here by putting the same number of arrows on A and B that in this example A and B are going to be parallel lines. Our book gives the following as a postulate. If A is parallel to B, then its corresponding angle pairs will be congruent. And I've abbreviated that CA congruent. I've shown here in the picture a couple pairs of corresponding angles. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 6 because corresponding angles are congruent. And if you look at it, they look about the same and they are both acute angles. Angle 1 would be a corresponding angle pair with angle 5, and they would both be obtuse angles. Okay, and they are both congruent by our new rule. Notice this, that angle 1 always would have been congruent to angle 3, so I can put 2 marks there. And angle 5 would have always been congruent to angle 7. I can put 2 marks there. And my reason, if I was doing a proof, is because vertical angles are congruent. Likewise, by vertical angles congruent, angle 2 would be congruent to angle 4. And angle 6 would be congruent to angle 8. So what we have here in this picture then are 4 pairs of acute angles that are all the same, and 4 obtuse angles that are all the same, that are all congruent. Well, we took this to be a postulate, but essentially by using vertical angles congruent and a little substitution, we've really proved a lot of things. Notice what we know then about alternate interior angles. Notice angle 3 and angle 5 are alternate interiors. They're congruent. Angle 4 and angle 6 are alternate interiors. They're congruent. So we add to this list of things we know that alternate interior angles are congruent. And we'll just abbreviate that AIA, congruent. Okay, well, let's look at the alternate exterior angles and see what we know about them. Well, angle 1 and angle 7 would be an alternate exterior pair, and notice that they're congruent. Angle 2 and angle 8 is my other alternate exterior pair. They're also marked congruent. So we get these guys are congruent as well, and that's AEA congruent. Our last, let's see, we've got corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior taken care of. If we look at the consecutive interior, that's our last set, consecutive interior, unfortunately, we'll see that they're not congruent. 3 and 6 are consecutive interior, but that's got 2 marks, that's got 1. 4 and 5 are consecutive interiors, and they have different numbers of marks, so they're not going to be congruent. And pretty clearly, if you look, that's an obtuse angle and that's acute, so they're definitely not congruent. But we do know something about them. Suppose, for example, that we knew that angle 2 was 50. That would make angle 6 50 because they're corresponding angles and they're congruent. But since 2 and 3 form a linear pair, angle 3 has to be 130. Likewise, if I look at my other pair of consecutive interiors by vertical angles congruent, if that's 50, that's 50. And we'd have to reason then, here's another linear pair, or we can say alternate interiors congruent. If that's 130, that's 130. Now notice what's happening with our consecutive interiors. They're not congruent, but they are something. They're adding up to 180. They are supplementary. So consecutive interior angles are supplementary, SUPP, and we will abbreviate that as CI sup. And these are all the facts you have to work with in our second section of Chapter 3 on properties of parallel lines.